Lori Goldman here. Welcome back to For the Sake of the Argument. We had Miriam Stone, who was talking about what I believe to be the illegal, immoral, and wrongful abduction of her brother, Ernesto Cuevas Enciso, who was picked up by ICE on his way to work. And he's being held in a for-profit, please hear this, a for-profit detention center. And he hasn't been told why he was picked up. He had his papers. He's married to an American citizen. He has a child, a job, a family here. And no one's told him why he was taken off the street in an abduction, like a B-grade movie. So there are things that you can do. Senator Stephanie Chang has on her website an updated post tagged to the top of what's going on with Ernesto. If you want to keep track, she'll mention in that post a GoFundMe for their family for their legal fees that they'll now have to pay so that he can be freed. And we can't let this stand. Let's do something. Thanks for joining us. Check out For the Sake of the Argument on all social media. Miriam Stone, welcome to For the Sake of the Argument. Thanks for being here today. Your brother, Ernesto Cuevas Enciso, was recently taken by ICE agents in Michigan. Can you explain to our audience what happened and what his status is as of today, December 15th?
So my brother, Ernesto, he is 34 years old. He has his wife, Andrea, and their daughter, Mia, who is 1. He, through Andrea, is actually in the middle with USCIS of a legal permanent residency petition or application. So that has been going on for over 6 months, minimum just with USCIS. So essentially what our attorney has told us, the immigration attorney, is that you have to expect the process to take at least 6 months. It can take longer. It can take a year. You know, it varies. But he has that petition pending. He does, because of that, have his Michigan, his state driver's license. He also has a work authorization card and then the accompanying Social Security card that goes with that. Unfortunately, on December 6th, he was detained by ICE. So he lives in Southwest Detroit right now with his family. And it was a Saturday, so he was headed to work out in Ypsilanti. And, he's driving his pickup truck with the enclosed trailer hooked up on it. And, he literally was only 1 block away from his work site. And on that industrial road is where he was stopped. So he was locked in by 2 unmarked Jeeps, one parked in front of him and the other parked behind the trailer. And so what my brother told us was that 2 agents from each of those Jeeps stepped out. They did have vests that said ICE. They approached the car. There was questioning, conversations. My brother, he was carrying his driver's license. He was the driver. He was carrying his work authorization card. He presented that. They had other questions, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, they end up handcuffing them and putting them in the back of the Jeep. He was with a fellow coworker who was a passenger. And so it was the both of them who were detained. And then they were brought from Ypsilanti down to Detroit to the federal building on Michigan. And they were there for several hours doing intake with ICE. From there, before it was night, they were actually transported over to Baldwin, Michigan, which is 3.5 hours away from Detroit. And there he's at the North Lake Processing Center, which is a detention center.
Before we get into what that is like, can you tell me, has ICE given you or any family member a reason why your brother was taken, or was it just a kidnapping?
It sounds like it was just a kidnapping, to be honest, for lack of a better word. It was not a traffic stop. This was not like, a police department was stopping him and then they handed him over to ICE. It was ICE acting alone who stopped them. And regardless of the documents that he presented, they decided to still detain him. And unfortunately, he's still detained now. So in a typical sense, ICE is able able to, and they have the right to verify if someone's legal status. And in the past, what I have heard from others and experience is that, they'll detain you. Maybe they even will hold you for like a night. They'll allow ICE to verify your status, whether you have DACA or whether that's like a pending petition. And then they would potentially like release you. In this case, he's still being detained, and it's been over a week now.
How were you notified? And he had his papers. He presented his papers.
Exactly.
He didn't oppose what they were doing. So they took him. How were you, or is Andrea his wife? Or
Yes.
How was his wife notified, or you, or the family notified?
Yeah. So in like this like really weird situation, he was detained by ICE. He was on that last block from his work site. The ICE officers who did detain my brother were actually kind enough to drive him that last block to drop off the keys with whichever worker was outside of the yard. And so they were able to flag someone, and they handed over the keys, and then they called their bosses who alerted Andrea. And then that's how I was actually at home, and I'm constantly checking my phone. We have iPhones on purpose so we can see each other's locations. And as the citizen of my family, I always just feel the responsibility to make sure that people made it to work safely, made it back home. I'm always checking on them, and I refreshed my app, and I saw that my brother was at the federal building on Michigan in Detroit, and very quickly, I was just like, why would he be there? Does he have like a court hearing? Does he have anything? Nothing at all. And so I called Andrea and, just simply asked first and foremost, before a hello or anything, is my brother okay? And she said no. And so that's when she started to recount what she had learned from, her boss, that my brother was stopped by and detained by ICE. And that app never refreshed. It stayed still, pinging his location as that federal building on Michigan in Detroit. But obviously he's being detained in Baldwin, Michigan right now.
Okay, I listened to a little bit of an interview that you gave with WDET, and I can tell you that I was in tears by the time it was over. Would you share with our audience where your brother's being held and what exactly this place is?
So the Baldwin, it's called the North Lake Processing Center. It is a detention center. I believe, if I'm not wrong, it does have 1,800 beds, and from what I hear is one of the largest detention centers in the Midwest.
And it's a private detention center.
Exactly. That's the other
for
big
profit.
thing. Exactly. So it is privately owned. So every bed that's filled, the government is paying for that person to be detained.
You mean the taxpayers?
The taxpayers of the United States are paying. So all of us, we're all paying for people to be detained. And what I've also come to learn is that most people in there, like a very high percentage of people that are detained at that specific facility, do not have a criminal or a violent criminal background at all.
So they could just have a parking ticket or a traffic ticket or some misdemeanor that hasn't been settled, like I've had many times in my past, and no one's taken me.
If they do have anything, would be something like that. It would not be what's considered a violent category in the eyes of ICE or USCIS.
Tell us what your brother experienced. And you guys are just a couple years apart.
Yeah.
So you have grown up with him. He's your older brother, and you're very close, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And you love him very much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had a job, family, things you were doing before this occurred, but now you've stopped life for yourself and your family to go out and tell the story. So tell us about what's happening to your brother in this facility as far as you know.
Yeah, so my brother, for a few days, when he first arrived there, he was housed in a temporary area. So before they are moved to more of the long-term permanent residence area of the what used to be the prison, now the detention center, he was in the temporary area. There, they did not have water fountains, and so they had to take water, fill up their cups using sinks, specifically a bathroom sink is what they were told to use. And then there's a question on how hygienic the water is there. And so they were instructed by the folks who work there, who staff the detention center, to take that cup of water from the sink in the bathroom and then put it in the microwave and heat it up in an attempt to boil it. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that a microwave has the capacity to boil water.
To sanitize water.
to sanitize it, right? And so that's what he was instructed to do by the staff that worked there. And when it comes to food, my brother and many people, he is a 34-year-old man, right? And so the meals that they are given, it's not nutritious enough, and it's not enough food. So they were hungry. He was hungry. And so in the permanent long-term area of the facility, they have a commissary, so they are able to request certain kinds of food. It does take a week to arrive, though. So in the meantime, you're still, dealing with having these small meals, and you're still dealing with going to sleep hungry, to be honest with you. And so in that temporary area, he did not have access, even though we had deposited funds for him in his account, he did not have access to be able to request additional food or extra layers of clothes so that he could stay warm. That's the other thing about this detention center, is that it's very cold. And so now he has been moved to the long-term area. And he now does have access. He recently requested extra layers, extra underwear, extra socks. For right now, he is washing his underwear and his socks every time that he does shower. He will wash it and then hang it up in his room to dry. And so that's
Are you allowed to send him clothes he already owns?
I don't think so, but you know what? I did call and ask not that long ago if we can take him his prescription glasses. He has the 1 day use contact lenses, and he's been trying to keep those as clean as possible and using them over and over again. But it's been over a week, and so the next time, unfortunately, that he is eligible to have, they have him on certain kind of schedules, and so the next time we can see him is the 22nd, and then after that will be the 25th. So now my family and I are scrambling to figure out when can we go and who can go. It's a 3.5-hour drive. I have a 1-year-old daughter. He has a 1-year-old daughter. His wife would like to see him. So we have to figure out childcare and, what would be the best way to see him because of that drive. But we want to get him his glasses, and I was told that we would be able to add them to his belongings when we first arrive, and then they would notify him and he could request that directly from the staff there.
That's probably because they don't have glassware that they can sell yet in their commissary for profit. Otherwise, you'd have to buy that from them.
Probably
Sad,
also.
but true. So you still don't know? His wife still doesn't know what he's being held for?
Exactly, yeah. So we have, obviously we would love to know. We spoke to his attorney, and from their perspective, because the immigration attorney that we have now, his name is George Mann. He was also the one that has been working with my brother the entire time for his legal permanent residency. They don't understand why my brother was stopped. And so what they have told us was that this was a malicious act by ICE. And my brother, maybe in previous administrations, more than likely would have been released by this time. And that's not the reality that we have today. So
is your brother a violent criminal?
No, he's honest. The one thing everyone always asks me, what's my brother like? And he has a really great smile. He's very kind. He has a really great sense of humor. He's always trying to, even with me, you could say I'm more the serious one in comparison to my brother, or the little nerd and things like that. And so he's always letting me know how to cope with stress and how to let things go, and to not be, literally the week before, just days before, he was telling me to just let things go and not allow that to affect my mental health. And so that's the kind of person he is. He wants people to feel safe, to feel welcome, to be at ease when they're around him, and also just period. And so he does what he can to brighten up your day. If he were in this room, he would be cracking jokes, making sure everyone felt warm and comfortable. And honestly, his spirit fills up the room. And without him, my family has shared meals and we've shared prayers. And, it's we're trying to make up for, his spirit. And he's absent, and we can feel that.
I think in America, many Americans have dehumanized immigrants and you and your brother came here when you were very small children, didn't you? But you have brown skin, not white skin. So that makes you suspect. And then you put into the equation the fact that these for-profit detention centers need their beds filled so they can make their quotas, make their money. The owners can become, billionaires. So your brother, who is a father, a husband, a working member of our society, who has gone on the path that he was supposed to get American citizenship, his wife, what is her status?
She's a U.S. born citizen. She was born in Dearborn and grew up in Dearborn Heights for most of her life. And her family lives out just past Port Huron in like a rural community as well. So, that's actually part of what they share in common. We grew up in Detroit, but when I was 9, my brother was 11, we moved out to St. Clair Shores, which is a city in Macomb County. And so they share a lot of the same hobbies and interests when it comes to going up north, the campfires, four-wheeling, snowboarding. And so very, what you would call like very like Michigander,
right?
The both of them, Andrea and Ernesto. And so through Andrea's U.S. citizenship, that is how he was applying for his legal permanent residency.
He seems to check a lot of boxes. But doing what he's supposed to do.
Exactly.
So for this not to happen, I understand that State Representative Stephanie Chang and other elected officials, Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, have gotten involved and called on ICE to release your brother from custody.
Yes.
How, which I commend them. I applaud every elected official that steps up to do what's right. How has the community offered support to you and your family, and what have they been able to accomplish as well?
So yes, Senator Stephanie Chang has led the way, I would say. Without her, I honestly don't know where my family and I would be in just sharing Ernesto's story and hoping for an answer from ICE, which, to your earlier question, we have not received, even though Senator Stephanie Chang has submitted a letter signed by her and many, fellow politicians. They have not answered that email. They have not answered anyone from media, and there has been multiple people and groups that have reached out to her.
I'm glad that our elected officials have stepped up, but apparently these for-profit detention centers aren't answerable to anyone.
Unfortunately, that is what the reality has been. There has been no answers from ICE. Even though that has been direct attempts from Senator Stephanie Chang and the media. But the community is like our backbone and our strength in our advocacy efforts for Ernesto and bringing him home. And so we simply started off just by sharing Senator Stephanie Chang's post on Facebook and Instagram on our personal profiles and sharing it with friends and family. And those friends and family shared it on their profiles, and it's just kind of like caught like wildfire, essentially. People that knew us when we were growing up from K through 12, teachers, fellow students, people we played soccer with, people that Ernesto has worked with in the past have all reached out to us, whether it's been through, social media or email or phone calls or a friend of a friend who connects them and gives them like our contact information. So many people have reached out to us and just simply asked, like, what can I do? And my family and I have felt like the outpour of like support from everyone in the community. As soon as like we find what that next action step is, people are already asking us, what else can we do now? So first it was just sharing the social media post. We've asked people to pray for Ernesto. Obviously there's the call to action to also email or call ICE directly, give Ernesto's contact, his information, name, birthday, a number, and in hopes that they'll answer to somebody. So I'm sure that they've seen these, like the flood of emails come in as well, in support of my brother. And we also set up a GoFundMe as well because of the legal fees. So we have the immigration attorney fee, the petition for bond. That's a request that is being made by his legal team, as well as what is called a writ of habeas corpus. I did not know. I've never heard of that before until now with everything going on, and specifically with my brother. But essentially, that the legal team is presenting at the federal court with the federal judge that my brother was wrongfully detained. We don't have a reason. We haven't been given one. And so the legal team is now proving, all the reasons why we believe like we don't have answers as to why. So if they could give us one, that would be great. But as far as we know, there is no legal reason to have him detained still.
It certainly looks more and more like that because it's been a few days now.
Exactly.
What is the name of your GoFundMe?
It's the same as everything. We're keeping everything the same. So it's help bring Ernesto back home to his wife and child.
Help bring Ernesto, Ernesto,
yes,
back home to his wife
and child.
Okay. What would you say? And I really want you to speak from your heart, which you seem very good at doing and very capable of doing, about the many Americans that not just support the deportation of immigrants, but actively voted for it. What do you say to those people that now this is unraveling so many families?
Oddly enough, maybe people may not understand how I would first express myself, but I would say that I have compassion for you. I have love for you, and my family also has compassion. We don't fault people for having their political ideologies or voting the way that they have. There has been and there is a lot of pain that has come from this aspect of the administration with the enforcement and the detention of immigrants at all cost. I've always in the past have leaned into hearing the other side to, if we don't have to have the same viewpoint on a specific matter, but we can at least understand and at least give some time and hear the other person out. And so I know that I can hear other arguments out or hear other viewpoints. I would, if I could, plead to people, whether it's voters, the general community, ICE, or Trump, that people matter. People should not be used as warfare, as a way to get back at another group. That our lives have been, it's a travesty that we are dealing with. And honestly, I just want to say, it's just not fair. There are a lot of good people. We are good people. There could have been a mistake in the past to come here or to stay here without an undocumented status. But I do believe that we have more in common than we have differences. And so I would just like people to see us as they see their own friends and their own family, and to have some compassion. And just like we are and have corrected wrongs by getting in line, quote unquote, or doing things the right way by, uplifting our case with USCIS, I would hope that others could also or would also want to correct their own wrong as well and have a change of heart.
Amen, sister, to that. Aside from the GoFundMe and helping support the legal fund so that your brother can get out of that hellhole, that for-profit hellhole, is there any other way that we can support you? How do we share your story? Is there a way we can find it on social media and push it out to our audiences and our friends, our family?
Yeah, so we are trying to stay concentrated. We are updating people on the progress that we're doing or any requests from the legal team and any next steps in Ernesto's legal case. And so we are sticking to the Facebook post and the Instagram post that Senator Stephanie Chang has posted. So we are just only pushing that. I, every day or every other day, try to upload an update on what is happening with Ernesto's case.
And what's that called?
Support.
What would that Facebook post, what is it titled under?
Senator Stephanie Chang,
Okay.
And she has it pinned at the top of her Facebook page, and the same thing with her Instagram.
Well, I applaud you. You're doing what you are doing because you love your brother.
Yes.
And you're helping your family and you're helping all of us understand the egregious nature of what's happening every day on our streets, in our communities. And I wish you well, and I hope Ernesto is let go very soon.
We pray for that.
Thank you, Miriam Stone, for being here today.
Thank you.